A delightful landscape that sits just 80 kilometers from Aizawl city in Mizoram called Silam Bird Sanctuary is a place to be acknowledged and visited. The tranquil slopes are an ideal spot to spend leisure time with friends. Cottages are built for tourists to enjoy a pleasant stay as well. Moreover, chefs can be hired to prepare a hearty meal and tents can be set up as desired. In addition to its alluring and pleasant attribute, the siren call of the birds chirping and the habitats of wildlife is what makes this site more reliable and exquisite. A seasonal lake called Saboa Lake resides in Silam, which is the perfect spot for children and adults to swim during monsoon. Due to its rich environment and inhabitants, this is the dreamland for environmentalists, and tourists who love nature must visit. Let us now shift our focus towards Dampa Tiger Reserve in the western part of Mizoram. We may all be aware of the name Dampa Tiger Reserve, but most of us do not likely have an in-depth knowledge on the grandeur and magnificence the place acquires. Let's have a detour of the place. In Dampa Tiger Reserve, we can still find large presence of deer, gazelles, and other wild animals. And if you're really fortunate on your visit, you may encounter these wild beasts sometimes fondling, wrestling, and fighting with each other. There is also one inexplicably large and majestic banyan tree in the reserve, This laudable gigantic tree alone is one good reason to visit and venture into this wildlife reserve. Also note that beautiful streams or rivulets and eye-pleasing waterfalls that cascade down the streams, which hold humongous amount of fish and other aquatic species and animals, can still be found in the reserve. Seeing this scenic and picturesque handiwork of nature is quite a breather, and it definitely offers respite. The Banyan Reserve is also an abode to some of the rarest bird species, and one such species is the dazzlingly beautiful bird called grey peacock pheasant. To see it stretches and fly with such ease in the horizon is something for one to brag about. The chirping and squeaking of these melodious birds that echoed the biosphere brings a sense of happiness and joy to the herd. Looking around the reserve, we also found primates there too, of different kinds, and seeing the mother primate cursing for her progeny is indeed eye-pleasing and really hits close to home. The Banyan Reserve lies in Mami district near a village called Banyan, only about 133 kilometers away from Mizoram's capital, Aizawl. The reserve stretched to an area of about 500 square kilometers, and it is home to a rich variety of wildlife. For people with keen interest in wildlife and nature, this place is available and worth a visit. There is likely nothing more satisfying and serene than spending just even a fraction of time to see and observe this wildlife in action. Note that this beautiful place, which is rightfully an abode of wildlife, is situated in our very own Mizoram.